Hey everyone, Jeremy Siskind here. I'm the author of Jazz Piano Fundamentals. Here's book one. I'm the author of Solo Standards for Piano. These are 8 great arrangements of standard tunes. And of course, playing solo jazz piano. And this is installment number 8 in my voicing series, and we're headed into modal voicings. In the first 6 installments, we were talking about a lot of tonal voicings. And when we're talking about tonal voicings, we are really preoccupied with chord tone numbers. We're talking a lot about where's the 3rd, where's the 7th, where's the 5th, where's the 9th, all those really important things. But when we're talking about modal voicings, it's actually much less, almost not at all, about that. And so today we're going to go into so what voicings. If you haven't watched installment 7, you don't need to, but it's going to give you a boost in terms of understanding this immediately and really quickly. And then we're going to kind of apply it in some different ways. I'm applying all of these tricks to a tune, What a Difference a Day Makes. All right, so we're talking about so what voicings. And so these are modal voicings. And if you watched video 7, thank you, first of all. But the idea of modal voicings is that we're going to take some sort of an interval pattern and we're going to apply that interval pattern above, or you could think of below, each note of the mode. And I actually, in this book, Jazz Piano Fundamentals, book 3, hey yo, I always talk about it below, because when I comp, and we'll talk about this, what I'm really thinking of is a melody, and then I'm harmonizing below that melody. So it's tempting always to stack notes from the bottom, but actually I should be a more responsible teacher and stack notes down from the top. Okay, so it's a modal voicing, and it has, this is a 5-note voicing with pattern of 4 notes arranged in fourths on bottom, and then like a cherry, a 3rd on top. And this is just totally a set voicing. We'll talk about things like pentatonic voicings and quartal voicings, which are categories that could be applied in really a ton of different ways. A so what voicing is a set number of intervals. You can't really have a 4-note so what voicing. You can't really have a 3-note so what voicing. It's gotta be this 5-note voicing. So let's do it first in D Dorian, and I am going to be responsible. And we're going to do this from the top going downward. So I'm going to write out the melody note first. Now, an important takeaway from that video number 7 is that the actual details of these intervals change from voicing to voicing. That in some, you're going to have all perfect fourths, and in others, you're going to have a mixture of perfect fourths and augmented fourths. In some, you're going to have a major 3rd, and in others, you're going to have a minor 3rd. So don't panic and don't go outside of the mode. The essential thing here, if we're in D Dorian, is that all these notes have no flats and sharps. And so I can kind of do this without thinking because I'm just going like by line and space patterns. Quick word about playing these. Personally, I play 3 notes in the right, 2 in the left. I don't have any hard evidence that that's what Bill Evans does, but whenever there's an uneven number of notes, to me it makes much more sense to put more notes in my right hand because it's more agile and flexible and can connect things better. So let's listen. I'm going to keep going up. All right, so pretty interesting. They each have a different personality, right? Some are more tense. Like I think the one starting on B on bottom is the most tense of all. That's one that I would probably mostly pass through. This last one written here is tense in some different ways, but I think like nicely moody for me. And then others are completely pure, right? There's 3 so what voicings that use all perfect intervals. And by the way, you'll soon learn that these are all pentatonic voicings as well. So let's do this in one more key before we talk about actually using them. How about let's go to F minor, so it would be F Dorian. Well, let's do a non-Dorian one. What are we doing? Let's do F7. So that's going to be F Mixolydian. And probably realistically, if we're using so what voicings, it's going to be more like F7 sus. So this is F Mixolydian. If you're wondering why, check out Jazz Piano Fundamentals Book 3. You'll read a lot about that. All right, and so let's write the scale on top, and then we will harmonize below. So F Mixolydian is the same as B flat major, so we're going to need 2 flats always, B flat and E flat. Ooh, I invite you to use the key signature if you want, or you can manually write the flats, which is how I'm going to do it, just to make sure that you guys all see where the flats are going. Whee. So let's see, is there a way that I can make this interesting? So it's always a third on top and then 4 notes organized in fourths below. And I think it is nice to think about these top notes, because then we're just going to sing little melodies in our head and harmonize them below. So here we go. If I want to be a little, this isn't really the classic McCoy, but we can get kind of close. I'm using just exactly so what voicings. How am I coming up with which ones to use when? I'm thinking of a melody. Ba bo da, ba de de do, de ba do, be ba de do, ba 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 de do. And this is exactly how I recommend practicing these voicings. Sing or play simple melodies. You don't have to harmonize Donna Lee with these voicings. And then, at first at least stay within the same key and just practice harmonizing below them with the correct accidentals. That's how you're going to be able to actually use these. So now going to what a difference a day makes, I don't want to harmonize the melody here. I mean, it's not like impossible, right? If you want to see it harmonized with so what voicings, it could be done. Right, but it doesn't sound great. Why not? Because remember, like, some of the so what voicings are really tense, some are less tense. So what we're going to do instead is I'm going to write out like some comping that I might do if I were playing What a Difference Day Makes in a really modal style using so what voicings. Now, not all of this tune lends itself to a modal style, so I might simplify some of the chords. Like, for instance, I don't know that we need to do all this business in here. I think we can just go like straight to a C7. And maybe we won't, well, it doesn't really matter if we go back and forth there. So let's start there. So these first, maybe we don't even need that C7. Oh, let's put it in there for fun. Okay, so these first 3 bars they all have modes based on E flat major. Right, F Dorian, B flat Mixolydian, E flat Ionian, they all have a parent key of E flat major. So if I'm comping, I'm going to think of a melody in E flat major. Let's see, bad day. Now, what I do want to be careful about is I want to make sure that I am resting pausing, emphasizing some of these so what voicings that are less dissonant, right? So I'm ending intentionally on a D because I know, because I've done this for a while, that it's going to have a really nice so what voicing. And let's actually get more specific. Why is this really nice? So first reason is that it consists, sorry about that weird flat, it consists of all perfect intervals. And it's got a major third on top, so very euphonious. I like that word, euphonious. The other reason is that notice that it's got the third and sixth in our magic range. So this so voicing is actually really similar to our classic type AB voicing for a E flat 6, right? That would be your third, sixth, ninth, and fifth classic type AB voicing, and then even better, it's got the major seventh on top. So when you're playing in a modal style, there still are some tonal considerations if you want things to sound pleasant and resolved. Okay, so now I'm going to harmonize below this, and I'm just going to be using notes from the E flat major scale. But I'm going to do it with a third on top, and then fourth stacked beneath. Let's see, so this is going to be A flat, E flat, B flat, F. This is G, D, A flat, E flat. And if you guys saw the last video, you might remember that for a tonic sound, we're often using Lydian instead of Ionian. We could do that here. I don't think we have to. Okay, and these have flats just in case. So 1, 2. Sounds really nice. And I don't know if I would necessarily realistically use C mixed Lydian here, but I'm going to because it's going to be fun. So let's just do be do 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 dum, and I'm thinking about making a little sequence. Do do da, be do 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 do. Okay. Now let's harmonize below that with C mixolydian. De, do, and then we'll go back to our E flat major. Material harmonization, key center, whatever you want to call it. Do, do, do. Okay, so the chord on the downbeat is one of the really dissonant ones, but then it resolves. Now let's say, I'm having fun now. Let's say I really, this chord, I hate having that on the downbeat, but I love that melody. Okay, we could plane, well, there's a couple of things that we could do. Yeah, we could basically plane this perfect, quote unquote, ideal so what voice. So instead of being in the mode, we could plane, meaning that we're going to take this set of intervals, perfect fourth plus a major third, and we're going to apply them across. So we're going to end up with something that maybe looks more like, it's going to have a ton of flats, it looks more like C flat major, I guess. Sounds like E major. Definitely dissonant on the downbeat, but then it resolves. So that would be planing, going outside of the key. If that that bothers you, which doesn't really bother me. I hear the dissonance for sure. Let's see, so I'm gonna aim to end on a G for this E flat major, because that's another one of these really nice resolved sounding voicings. Oops, I should do this in black. Do, boo, do. May or may not be your favorite, but let's go with it. Well, I'll tell you what, let's do a little bit more planing here. I'm gonna go to A flat, and I could harmonize that with with notes from the E flat major scale, but I'm gonna choose instead to plane everything up by a half step. I guess I should technically write this with flat so we can still see that it's a third and fourths below. So sorry for all the intense flats here. You're gonna hear that this feels a little more tonal, a little more familiar, and just, I guess, a little bit more pleasing overall. All right, so now we're on our minor 2-5-1. So let's D, D, da, D. It's hard to hear a melody and write at the same time. My apologies. It's probably the most boring YouTube video that's ever been made. You're probably like, is he still here? So. So these melodies, they don't need to be brilliant, right? You just need to create a little bit of motion and a sense of phrasing. So I'm going to now harmonize below, and I'm probably going to think about D Locrian here, right? We're in a modal context. G Phrygian for my dominant. Now, that doesn't have your major third, but it reflects this minor chord so beautifully. And then I'm going to think about C Dorian. You can read all about that in Jazz Piano Fundamentals, book 3, about some really common mode selections for minor 2-5-1s. They're kind of like replacements for minor 2-5-1s. And there's certainly multiple options. This isn't the only way to do it. I think this should sound good though. E flat, B flat, F, C. So, you know, these are all so up voicings. And let's be clear, I'm doing this for an assignment, for effect, but you don't have to stick to so up voicings when you're using them. These are just one arrow in your quiver of voicings. Okay, so then we're using notes from B flat major parent scale for these next two. Let's do that. 1, 2, 1, 2, da da do. Oops, I gotta do the stems above. And then we'll sequence that. Be-do, be-do, be-do. That A flat one is one of the ones that we want to avoid. Be, boo. Let's do that. All right, so I'm going to harmonize these guys with notes from a B flat major parent scale. And notice these can get kind of high, these solo voicings, because you're expanding pretty far downwards. Even though they're not tonal voicings, I do generally look for the bottom two notes to be roughly in that magic range that I talked about so much. Like that's going to be a good register for these voicings. So like think about the bottom two notes being between C3 and G4. Okay, so B, G, and then we gotta stack in fourths, A flat, E flat. I know a lot of these flats are in the key signature, but I'm trying to write them all out so there's no confusion, because I know sometimes people miss the flats. You can't see the key signature at all times. Okay. So now I've got some sort of a sample of what comping could look like using so what voicings for what a difference a day makes. So I'm going to try to hit bass notes as I can. I'm not going to be able to hit them all, but here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Let's do it one more time. I think it sounds pretty good. I forgot about the planing, so. Let me take bar 9 again and see if I can hit a bass note, because I feel like I'm not hearing that 2-5-1 too well, so. Yeah, it's not going to be the strongest, most tonal progression because these are not tonal voicings, they're modal voicings. All this and more about this kind of voicing in Jazz Piano Fundamentals Book 3, if you are interested. Wow, all right, we're at 23 minutes, so for anybody who stayed, you really get a gold medal. So say something about going for the gold or something golden if you made it this far. Golden like my sweater. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.